Hey y'all, I am Victor E, and I help provide insight to empower. And today's insight is on an intuitive saying. There are going to be a few of these that I cover, but this one is one that I am coming into a more full awareness of. And that is what we can and cannot stomach, right? Not being able to stomach something. And so, in processing, breaking down this intuitive saying, what I came up with, or what came to me more accurately, is being able to process, accept, manage, and take on information, take on experiences, take on the people in our lives, especially as people, events, circumstances, and ultimately truths. And now, something to consider is, what do we do to cope, to deal, to escape, and to manage what's coming into our field of awareness? For me, that's comfort food. That's escape. I've struggled with substance use and abuse. After I got out of the Marines in 2012, did 2 deployments to Afghanistan. Saw some stuff that I could not stomach at the time, and it took me a while to digest and process it. But something I would do is just smoke weed every day. I would drink a lot. I would escape from myself, from my issues, from processing my stuff, into relationships, to trying to find worth in myself and fixing or being of value to somebody else rather than myself. Video games, big one. Smoking cigarettes, big one. A lot of things that I've struggled with that have negatively impacted my stomach. And so if you struggle with digestive issues, constipation, diarrhea, holding it in, excuse me, this is kind of a physical manifestation of intuitively trying to do our best to mismanaging the things that are the circumstances that are happening to us, that we're not a victim of, that we're just in the process of learning to manage. Yeah, let's phrase it right. So questions that came in are, what are the effective and ineffective ways in which we have learned to manage, and what ways can we learn to manage? What are the effective and ineffective ways in which we have learned to manage, and what ways can we learn to manage? And stepping away from judgment, we get to this phrasing, because language is so vitally important. How we communicate to ourselves and how we then communicate to the world around us, maybe even non-verbally. So that's why I use the terms effective and ineffective rather than good or bad, right? Because we don't want to value ourselves in such a way, right? As we are good or we are bad. Rather, what is the effective thing? What is the ineffective thing? And that ties so much more intimately with results. Because we can have all the concepts in our mind and in the world, but concepts ultimately are going to prove effective or ineffective once we apply them and once the world gives us feedback. Yeah. Moving on, we don't have to have the answers at this time. That was a big one. Like, I've seen my dad be in like rush mode, and one of my sisters, she knows who she is. I think as a kind of like act of rebellion, is notoriously always running late, 2 or 3 hours. She'll give us a time for like 1 p.m. or for a meetup, and won't show up until like 3 on a good day. And I love her to death. And I see, and I have so much compassion for her, because of her individual relationship and experience with our father, and it's I definitely understand. Whether that's effective or ineffective for her is revealing herself, and she's on her journey, and I respect the shit out of her. But yeah, we don't have to have the answers at this time. So, like me with my dad and his rushing, and especially in the military, like always being on someone else's time. Now that I'm taking, the reins of my own life, really being able to speak boundaries, to set those boundaries, to be like, for better or worse, this is the pace that I need to go at. And if that's not effective, I was going to say like good or whatever. If that's not effective, if that's ineffective to someone else, I understand, and they can move on. They can find somebody else for whatever project or thing that they're working on, and I respect that. I wish them the best. But like, I'm really learning to value and honor my pace. Right? It's like this is a big one. So whenever I would drink coffee, I would notice I get a little stomach pain, a little acidity. And coffee is something, you may not want to hear this. Spoiler alert. Coffee is something that I use to stimulate my nervous system, for better or worse, to stimulate the pace of my heart so that I can be on maybe a misperceived, misinterpreted pace of the world, trying to keep up, right? With these goddamn influencers on social media and stuff, we always want to make sure that we're keeping up, and that is just such a false image, and honestly kind of harmful to portray that, like, man, these Instagrammers and TikTokers are like presenting the highlights of their life and not the full picture, right? So if you look at me right now, you see I have highlights right here on my nose, under my eye, wherever the light is hitting, but I have so many other, shadows and values in the lighting myself. So we cross apply that, and I never want to come across as having as someone who only presents the highlights. And that is something that I hope to honor with my YouTube channel, is to present the full truth. Whether or not it's, I don't want to be disrespectful to myself or to my ego, but if my ego has to be bruised, if I have to feel that burn a little bit in order to disclose the full truth, if I have to be uncomfortable for a second, I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to sit with that discomfort. Pain tolerance on point over here. Yeah, that's hopefully the value that I hope to bring with this channel. So we don't have to have the answers at this time, and that comes in part with the more literal translation. Let me slow down my own pace a little bit here. Yeah. Chewing and swallowing too quickly. Excuse me. Take time to break it all down. Information and food. Take your time. Don't be on anyone else's unless it ultimately benefits you long term. And that, again, touches on discomfort. If slowing down your pace means you're wanting to fall back into old comfortable patterns that are long term not useful to you, then it may help be advantageous to you to lovingly push yourself into that discomfort zone a little bit, and maybe see what it's like. Experiment, fuck around and find out. I'm all about that scientific process of fucking around and finding out. So unless it ultimately benefits you long term, I would suggest honoring your own pace, slowing down, speeding up. And especially as a Marine, I don't want to leave anybody behind. But if I really see them dragging their heels, it's like, okay, you're dealing with what you got to deal with. Me and my team, we're moving forward, and hopefully we can meet again down the line. That happened with a previous relationship. I was having trouble reining in my heart, and I wanted to just really give into that love and go full pace, full steam ahead. And she had boundary issues, insofar as that, like, it was tough to see how her boundaries ended up coming from a place of fear rather than a place of healthy love for herself. And no blame to put anywhere. We're all learning and progressing on our own terms and pace. But that was really vitally important for me to learn to allow the feminine to set the pace. Yeah. There's another story that I'll say for another time involving a horse and how I learned that my heart is a black horse. And I'm in my black VW right now. So it's all kind of strangely lining up in that way. Excuse me. So that was the first lesson here on intuitive sayings and breaking them down, so that we can have a more knowledgeable experience and be better informed, better prepared. Right? Knowledge is power, and I want to give this insight to empower you. Okay. If you have any other issues, feel free to hit up my website. IamVictorE.com, all one word. We can book an appointment and see what insights I can help you discover and glean from your own life, from your own experiences, from the issues that you're dealing with now. All right? Cool. Love you. Peace.